Time to delve into the dark side of the Force yet again. Wait a minute. Oops. Sorry, guys. Wrong universe. Welcome back, folks. This is Sprues and Studs, and today, again, we are going to be doing yet another action figure review. And no, we are not going to be doing a review on the loyalist Space Marines out there. We are actually going to be doing a review of the lovely Chaos Space Marine Terminator, specifically the Black Legion Chaos Space Marine Terminator with the Stormbolter and classic Power Fist combo. So without further ado, let's jump right into the review.
All right, Chaos God worshippers, this Chaos Space Marine has been dying to be released from the Eye of Terror. So let's just unbox him already, shall we? Releasing. Bridging the gap between warp and reality. Unleashing upon the Imperium. Alright folks, we have finally unleashed this Chaos Terminator onto the Imperium, and let's just see what this guy is all about. So we will, as usual, start off by looking at the armaments, which is this Stormbolter over here. And this Stormbolter is actually really cool because it has a lot of the Chaos elements that you would want. So you've got these spikes that you see over here, a very cool screaming skull area over here as well. And then just a few other portions too, like this over here, that you would typically not find on an Imperial Stormbolter. So this is a nice touch that JoyToy has put in. And as usual, of course, there are some painting issues that I will slightly point out, but I will not fixate on too much. So you've got a little overspray of the bronze onto the black. And again, another overspray with the bronze onto the black over here too. But you can tell this is an earlier release because you actually have highlights over here, which we are direly missing in the 2.0 versions. And this is the same case on this other side. There are actually highlights up top. And then again, you have that slightly weathered patina over here with this dark gunmetal silver, and then gradually progressing onto a dry brushed lighter silver up here. So again, very nice touch from JoyToy to bring to life this Stormbolter. All right, the next thing we will move on to this is this alternate head over here. And this is a perfectly done Chaos Terminator head with this lovely tusk over here. I really like how, again, JoyToy captured the essence of chaos within this particular head. And if we're going to be judging the head, this is actually a very, very well painted eye. The red is staying within the red areas, so that's very nice. Again, you see some highlights up here, which is, again, very nice that JoyToy added these in the first generation action figures that you don't find very often, if not all, on the 2.0 action figures. Another thing I really like, too, is the gradual transition over here with the colors. I love how this looks from this black to this kind of dark brown to this light tan, all the way up to this bronze goldish color, which is really cool in my opinion. Unfortunately, again, there are still some painting errors, as I'm going to point out over here. So this silver vent area does not seem to be sprayed on very evenly, so that's a little bit of a miss in my opinion. And then you have a overspray from the silver onto the black, as well as this region over here. So this is a really cool head in my opinion. It's got a ton of chaos character laden with it, and I really like it a lot. So let's look at the figure himself. And starting off with the bear helmet area. One thing I'm going to point out to you again, I appreciate that there are highlights over here. It's a bit rough, but not too bad. Same thing with the highlights over here. So again, something that's missing in the 2.0 action figures. And then looking at the eyes, these eyes are perfectly screened. You get to see the iris and the pupil and basically this reflection over here. It's really cool. I also like the color that they chose for the skin, as you have seen that this guy has probably been through the warp in the Eye of Terror for quite a long time to warp the skin tone into this pallid color over here. And you got this pretty good shading actually on the furrowed brow for this Chaos Terminator. Then looking at the little accoutrements on the top of the Terminator, I think it's actually really cool. So you've got this weathered bone look for these skulls over here, and I actually think that this weathered look is really nice. It actually represents a dry skull very nicely. So you got this deep dark shading over here, and then it gradually lightens up. You get this so weathered feeling. Same thing with every single one of these skulls that are up top. So this is actually pretty impressive in my opinion. So let's look at the pauldrons. You have a perfectly screened Black Legion iconography here. And then you have this bronzish color for the pauldron that has been shaded darkly over here, which is cool. Unfortunately, again, there's misses over here where you've got this bronze onto the black, but this is again fairly negligible in my opinion. And you got this nice chainmail kind of look over here too. I like how they dry brush the light silver here, and then you have the darker recesses in between the links. So this is definitely a nice touch that JoyToy put in. All right, looking at the Power Fist, you get this hose that connects to the Chaos Terminator armor, and this hose is actually highlighted very well. The silver areas are actually right on top of the ridges, which is exactly what you would expect with a highlight. So this is very nicely done. And if you look at the Power Fist itself, unfortunately, as I'm turning over here, there is a bit of a miss where you got some bronze onto the black portion, which is, again, not too much of a big deal. You do get some light highlights over here, here, and here. So moving on to the belt region and all the accessories that are here, you have this really nice weathered skull kind of look, although it's a little bit rough in my opinion. So you have a little bit of a miss here where this dark brown is supposed to be covering this light skull tone over here, but it's not too noticeable if you're looking at it head on like this. Again, with the loincloth area, I'm not too fond of this area myself, mainly because the colors and highlights don't really match. I would have preferred if the highlight was a kind of a lighter reddish orange instead of a yellow kind of color. Then if they actually would have eliminated this shade over here because it looks a little bit rough. And then looking at the back, this is actually pretty decent. So with the vent areas back here, the silver is actually within the silver areas and the black is within the black. So this is very well done and very well painted. And finally, looking at the legs of this Terminator, you get a very, very large miss where the shade is very, very prominent over here, but it has missed a lot of the portions over here and actually went onto an area where it shouldn't have. And I wish they actually would have shaded between the teeth, and there's actually shade in the nostrils, which is good. And overall, I do like this color aesthetic to this action figure. All right, let's look at the articulation for this particular Chaos Terminator. So with the head, you can actually swivel this thing around 360 degrees, although he's not meant to do that. There's plenty of tilt forward and backward and then side to side. It is some of the side to side is blocked by this right here. And then about the shoulders, there is 360 degree motion over here. There is a ratcheting mechanism that I'm feeling right now. About the shoulders too, you are able to actually rotate this shoulder a little bit more in, as you can see with this pivot point right here. This actually goes out from the body right here. There's a pivot motion with the pauldron that I really like on the 1.0 figures that's attached through a barbell type of mechanism here. So as you can see, this is the barbell right there. And then about the forearm, it is 360 degrees of rotation over here. And then the elbow joint, again, is double jointed. You have this joint here, and then another joint that allows you to bend in. So with the Power Fist, you have limited range of motion, mainly because of this hose over here. You're probably only going to get about 180 degrees of motion, as you can see over here. I accidentally over-rotated it and popped this thing out on accident, so I'm going to have to glue this back in later. So this is actually not meant to be rotated 360, but if you really want, you actually can. And then it's got that same double jointed elbow mechanism here. There's another ball and socket mechanism over here that allows you to tilt this thing back and forth, so there's a little bit of a wobble that you can get. And then this is also 360 degrees of motion over here, you can see. And finally, with the legs, you're able to kick the legs out 90 degrees from standing. The range of motion is a little bit limited back here because of all the armor. The knees are double jointed just like the elbow, but the top joint is kind of limited with the range of motion. So it looks like you're going to be getting a little bit less than 90 degrees for the knee. So with the ankle area, this is a 1.0 ankle, so you can get some wobble over here. And then you have kind of a limited range of motion for the toe area, as the top of this is blocked by this area. In all honesty, I actually do prefer the bare head, but I'm just going to show you how to actually pop this bare head off so you can replace it with this one over here. So the head is attached by a simple ball and socket mechanism, as you can see. Comes off very easily, and then you can just put the head directly on just like that. There you go. And then the only other thing to do is outfit this with the storm bolter, and there you go. All right, folks, that is the review of the Space Marine. Let me wrap it up with my final thoughts.
All right, everybody, what do I think of this Black Legion Chaos Space Marine Terminator? Again, I think this is a very, very solid action figure. JoyToy, once again, does a very good job of translating the source material, which is the miniatures from Games Workshop, and translates it into this action figure scale over here. A lot of things that I like are basically the Chaos iconography. Another thing that I like is the Storm Bolter, because current Loyalist Space Marines do not have a Storm Bolter, because right now, as of this review, there are no Loyalist Space Marine Terminators, but hopefully that should be resolved pretty soon. This should not come up as a surprise for those of you who are veterans of this channel. But for the new people, yes, there are painting issues that kind of bug me, especially the painting in the loincloth area. But regardless, don't get me wrong, despite I'm pointing out these painting issues, this still remains a very solid action figure. And if you are a Chaos Space Marine fan or just Chaos fan, I think that this Chaos Terminator definitely should be a pickup in my opinion. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. And again, I appreciate all your consistent viewership and watching and diving into the minutia of an action figure. This is Spruce and Studs, and I'll see you all in the next one.